Working as a journalist, I might be tasked to do various stories for different shows that perhaps we're working on. I can do all of that in MediaCentral Cloud UX. Now, MediaCentral Cloud UX runs in a web browser. So here I'm actually running it on Google Chrome. And you can see down the left-hand side, I have access to all of the different systems I can use. And then across the top, we have lots of different apps. Now, I'm not going to go into each of the individual apps. There's other videos which take care of that. But some of the apps that we're going to take a look at here, we have the Browse app, we also have the Search app, we have what's called MediaCentral Collaborate app, and we also have the Rundown app. So the first thing to look at is, how do I know that I've been tasked to do a job? Well, that's what MediaCentral Collaborate is about. It really is about story-centric working and enabling teams to work together on a particular story or an event. So let's start off by taking a look at MediaCentral Collaborate. So I just click on the app, and this opens up in what's called the planner view. Now, I'm only really interested in what I'm doing, so I've got a very quick filter here that I can apply to only see my stuff. So there we go. I can now see everything that's got my name with a little circle around it indicates this is for me. So I'm going to go into most recent one. And then inside here, I see a whole bunch of assignments. Now, I can see here there is only one assignment for me, the paraglider rescue. So let's go into that one. And then here at the right-hand side, I can see that there are different tasks. So for example, here, there's one task, which is sending the crew to the location. They've got a Google Maps link in there. We have another post here, which is for Anna to do. I can see it's Anna here. And she's working on getting something out to Twitter. And I can see this is already complete because in MediaCentral Collaborate, we can also track the status of items. And so here with my name against it is the one called Rescue Underlay. So okay, they're looking for 20 seconds underlay with video for the nighttime show on the paraglider rescue, and we have some library pictures. So let me go in here and just mark this as now being in progress. That's just going to update everyone to let them know that I'm now working on this. And let's switch back now to the Browse app and continue the workflow from there. So let's now go into my newsroom system because I'm going to be working on a story for the 10 p.m. show. So let's go into the 10 p.m. show and into the rundown. Now, of course, I can only write in this particular area because I have the permissions to do so. But here is my running order. And what we're looking at here is a list of all of the stories which are part of the running order itself. If I select an individual story, then I can click on this little story button here. And that's then going to show me the content of the story as well as the list of stories that are here. Again, I can just switch this to just show the story itself. And again, here I can go back and let's go back just to the list. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a story. Now here I'm working inside MediaCentral Newsroom Management. Some of you may know this better as iNews. And this is basically just a web view into my newsroom system. So what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to right click and I'm going to select to create a story. I could also hit the insert key on the keyboard. It would do the same thing. This then creates a blank story for me. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to write a story about a paraglider. So here I can go in and I can give the story a name. I'm also going to give the story a video ID. This is something that can be set up to happen automatically. And basically what this means is that every single item which has got a video ID is going to contain a bit of video. It's a bit like a placeholder in this kind of workflow. So there we go. I've gone and I have created my story. Now what I want to do is I want to write some text in that story, of course. So I'm just going to open up the story view. And I'm going to write my story. Now, I don't really need to see the list of everything at this point, so I'm just going to close that down. And now I can come in and I can write my story. Now, what we're looking at here are two different areas that you have inside your story. You have at the top bit here, the story form. That's really for adding any additional metadata. So for example, here, I could put in a particular presenter that's going to read this story. That would apply a particular read rate for them. You can have, for example, the director in the gallery may go in and add which camera shots that they're using. And you can also have approval workflows directly here as well. Also inside of the system, we always track who modifies a story, when it was modified, and that's something that you can also look back at afterwards if you need to check. Okay, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to write my script. Now in here I want to put in some instructions that are going to be picked up by the presenter in the studio and also by, the director or the person that's running the show in the gallery. Now I can do this by manually typing things in, or I can use what are called script templates. Now script templates are a great time-saving feature inside of the MediaCentral newsroom system, which allows me to pre-select a set of templates. So in this case, I've got the presenter to camera. So let me just select that here, hit OK. And you see here, it automatically adds in the text and it adds in what's called a production cue. That's what this thing is here. And this text will appear on the prompter, but it will appear on the prompter as an instruction for the presenter, but it doesn't count towards the timing, and that's because it's in red text. Now you see now when I begin typing, I'm going to type in white text, and that text will actually count towards the time for the item itself. So let's go in and just type in some text. So there I've gone and added some text then, and this is the text that the presenter is going to read in the studio. But now what I want to do is I want to add another instruction, which basically is going to tell the people in the gallery that at this point I want them to roll the video that's associated with this particular story. Now again, I could manually type that in, but let's just go in here and we'll bring up our script templates once more. And again here, I have a one for roll, so select that, hit OK. And you see it automatically adds that in. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to type in some more text. And this is going to be the text that's going to run underneath the video when it's actually playing. Okay, so there we go. I've just written in some text. Now you can see up at the top right hand side here, it's telling me the total amount of text that I have directly in my story itself. And that's because it's counting the text here, which is in white. Now, of course, there's a whole variety of different workflows that you could have here. You could just be writing a story that's text only. You could be writing a story that's text with some graphics. We'll take a look at that in a little while. But here I want to go and I want to cut some video that's associated with this because I want to cover off these shots. Now I can easily do that in MediaCentral Cloud UX because I have access not just to the newsroom system, but also to MediaCentral Production Management, my video production system. So you see here on the left-hand side, I can do a couple of different things. The first thing I can do is I can simply navigate into the folders. So I've got a media folder here. And if I go into that, I've got some drone shots. And inside that, I've got some aerials. And these are the shots that I'm going to use because here I have some paraglider scenics. I could also search for it using the search app in MediaCentral Cloud UX, but I've got it here. So a couple of things I can do now is the first thing I can do is I can just preview it by using the hover scrub feature. So really nice shots that we have here. And now if I'm interested in this, if I simply double click on it, it's going to load it into the video player that we have integrated in MediaCentral Cloud UX here at the right hand side. And of course from here I can scrub through the shots. I can of course play the shots back. You also see here I have these audio monitoring channels here where I can monitor the audio channels as well. Not too concerned about the audio on this one, so I'm actually going to hide that panel. And I can do that very easily just by clicking this button here to hide it. I can also bring it back. I can also resize the panel here as well. So say I want to make the video player, maybe a little bit bigger. I can just drag it across and resize it. And then of course there I can make the video player a bit bigger as well. So this is all entirely based on, what you want to do. It's entirely flexible for how you want to set things up. And of course, I can come back here, I can resize things, and I can drag the window back over again. So entirely flexible, exactly how you want to do it. Now what I want to do is I want to link this story to a sequence. Really easy to do. All I need to do is click on the Create Sequence button. You see it automatically picks up the name of the sequence. It also gives me the chance then to save this inside my own folder inside of the system. Now this is something you can predefine. So as an administrator, you could set this up. And I'm going to go in just now and I'm going to create this as a sequence. And here I go to paraglider and I want to just give it an extra bit of information. Say this is the paraglider GVs. GVs, of course, standing for general views. Click on create. And this now creates for me a blank sequence, and I can bring up the timeline and I can see in the timeline I have got a single track of video, 2 tracks of audio. I can add additional video and audio tracks. I could in fact have up to 4 video tracks and 8 audio tracks, but I'm quite happy with just the single video and 2 audio tracks for what I'm doing today. Now again, here it's a single video monitor. So I'm going to hide this panel now just so I can see things a bit better. And here, when it's blue, I'm looking at my timeline. Here, I'm now looking at my rushes, my unedited material. And of course, this is what I want to use to then begin to cut. Now, I'm just going to use the under monitor controls here to do this. So I'm scrubbing using my mouse here. I can do exactly the same thing using the keyboard. You know, I can use J, K, and L if you're familiar with that to scrub through clips. Again, here I can go in and just let's take this from there. Nice shot that we have. And then to add into the timeline, I can just simply come in and I can drag and drop. So I can drag and drop into the timeline. I can also use B on the keyboard. It would add it into the timeline as well. If I want to see what I've edited, I can just switch across to the timeline. So when it's blue here, this is me looking at what's actually been edited into my sequence. So here's my first shot. Let's just play it back. So there we go. Yep, really nice shot. Let's just flip back across to my rushes again. And again, let me just go somewhere a little bit earlier, different view this time. So let's go in here and just take this. Don't want to take the shot change. Go to there. And this time I'm going to hit B on the keyboard just to show you. So B on the keyboard adds it in as well. I can, of course, in the timeline, I can trim shots. You know, I can trim shots out. I can make them longer and shorter. Again, if I go back into here, let's just choose something else just to show you that, you know, if I want to, you know, I can put things in the timeline really at any place. So if I'm building a longer package and maybe I've got an interview that's come in, I can pop that in the timeline and then I can build my story around that as well. You can, of course, do things like 3-point editing, things like that as well. Control and Z is going to undo. And what I mean by 3-point editing is, you know, here in my sequence, I can go in and I can mark an in point and I can mark an out point. You see then it highlights this in the timeline. I can also cut from here. I can use the little weightlifter to maybe push this shot out. But if I now go back into my, you know, unedited material, into my rushes, I can simply come along here and let's say I want this to be my in point. I don't need to have an out point because I have an out point in my timeline already, so I can get rid of that. Then hit B, and it then adds that shot directly in here as well. So you can do things like overwrite edits, you can do splice in edits, you can also do replace edits as well, all in MediaCentral Cloud UX. So okay, I've got in and I've added some video here. I'm just going to save this because now what I want to do is I want to add a graphic. So we can do that because again in MediaCentral Cloud UX I have access not just to my newsroom system, my video system, but I also have access to my graphics as well. So let's take a look at how I can add graphics into my particular story here as well. Now to do this, I'm going to bring up that panel again because one of the things that this panel has, you see it has a graphics tab. So now what I can do is go back into my systems area here, and here I have Maestro News. So for Maestro News, let me go into my templates. So here are my templates that I'm going to use. So news package 1. And what I want to have here is just a simple lower third, but you can see I can have a variety of different type of graphics here. And this is going to open up the template. And this is why we use this graphics tab. So here I can see my graphic template. And so I'm just going to add in some text here. So these are, you know, library shots. And I'm going to talk here about the paraglider. Now, as well as just typing the text in here, I can also get a preview of what this is going to look like. So I just click on the little render button here. Now again, here to make the video player bigger, let's just close this up again. And now I can come in and I can play back the graphic and I can then see it with the animation. So you see here, I can even scrub through it. I can see the animation on and off. Now I want to add this into my timeline. Simple. Just drag and drop into the timeline and you see it adds it in as a graphic track. Now the other thing I can also do is I can make this a bit longer. So you see here, I'm just going to increase the length of this shot. And now when I go into my timeline and I play it back, what I'll see is not just the graphic, but I can also see the graphic in context of the actual pictures themselves. So there we can see the graphic animating on and then animating off. So I've added that graphic in. You can also see it's also been added as what's called a production queue inside of my MediaCentral newsroom system. Now what this means is that this enables me to download this rundown into a graphic system. It's Maestro graphics from Avid, of course, and I can then play them out in the studio, and that retains the timing information for where this graphic should actually get played out directly in the timeline itself. So there in MediaCentral Cloud UX, what I've done is I've written my story, I've gone in and I've edited some video, I've also then added some graphics, and I've done that all working in a web browser. Now, one other final thing that I can also do inside MediaCentral Cloud UX, just to show you here, is I can also record a voiceover. So again, to do that, I'm just going to bring up the panel again. And what I can do from here is I can go in and I can record a voiceover. Now I'm going to mute these tracks because obviously I don't need to hear the audio while I'm recording the voiceover. I'm just going to go back to the start here. And of course, to do this, I need to add an extra audio track. So there's my new audio track. Just select it from here. And now what I can do is I can go into record. So what you see here is I'm going to get a countdown clock. And this then allows me to record my voiceover directly into the timeline. And what you'll see when I stop is this is going to add it straight into the timeline, and so I can then listen to it back. So there you can now see my voiceover has been added in as an additional track here. I can unmute the other tracks, and then I could also adjust the audio levels, even down to the level where I can do panning if I want to on these particular tracks. So a lot of great capability in MediaCentral Cloud UX to do, really advanced things. So now that I'm done and I'm happy with everything, I could of course submit this for a review and approval workflow, or alternatively, I can go in here and I can actually send this directly to playback. What this is going to do is transfer this sequence into a playout server to get played out in the studio. Of course, what this is not doing is not burning the graphics in, it's leaving the graphics clean to then get played out in the studio. But you see, I also do have the option here to burn the graphics in if I want to. And that could be a great workflow if you're doing some content that perhaps is going out to your social media or is going out perhaps to a website. So that's how I can go in, create a story, write my story, edit some video, add some graphics. But I want to show you a couple of other things as well. So now that I'm done, I want to update MediaCentral Collaborate. So in MediaCentral Cloud UX, you can combine apps together. So what I'm going to do just now is just quickly dock my Rundown app, open my MediaCentral Collaborate app, and here I've got my rescue underlay, of course. I can go up and now say, okay, this is now complete, to update the status. But the other thing I can also do here is I can now link, for example here, my sequence into MediaCentral Collaborate. I can also take my story and link it into MediaCentral Collaborate as well, so that everyone who is working on the story now has access and can view this material that I've been working on. So here I've taken across my sequence. I can, of course, if I just quickly match frame back to my original material, I can then take that and I can add that in here as well. So that's how I can use MediaCentral Cloud UX to go in, find my task using MediaCentral Collaborate, create and write my story and edit my video, and then obviously link everything together using MediaCentral Collaborate and update the status, all done working as a broadcast journalist in MediaCentral Cloud UX running in a web browser.